It's time for a best of 3 series between two of my personal favorites. This was played during the GSL Code S, one of the most prestigious StarCraft 2 tournaments in the world. And spawning right here in the top left-hand corner, a man very well known for getting second place in this event. We're looking at none other than Su. Can I still introduce him like that? I don't know, maybe I'm a bit of a jerk. But Su has gotten a lot of second places in the GSL Code S, and in a lot of other tournaments too. His opponent. That's probably the most rude way to introduce a pro gamer. Anyways, his opponent, a man. I'll be nicer. I'll be nicer. A man who's won it all. A world championship, GSLs, right? Playing with the red SCVs. We're looking at ByuN's main command center. I mean, to be fair, being the second best player still is quite good as far as financials go. And obviously, Su has won events over the years. Most notably, I guess he won PM Kijkwijzer at the end of it all. Let me pull up the exact, I think it was like a 200 grand first place prize in the end, which is not bad. Oh my god, his Wikipedia page is really long. It's a double barracks opener, it looks like, from ByuN, as I'm trying to pull up the stats. It was 150,000. 150,000 at PM Kijkwijzer. So, Su, he got second place at the LowkoTV Spring Championship, most notably. Nation Wars 2019, 2018 Masters Coliseum, 2018 GSL vs. the World. Got second place at Home Story Cup 17. WCS Global Finals against Rogue at the World Championships in 2017. He got second place at Masters Coliseum, 2017 VSL, 2017 GSL Code S Season 2, 2017 GSL Code S Season 1, IM Season 10, Gamescom back in 2015, 2014 at the GSL Season 3, GSL Code S, 2014 DreamHack Stockholm Open, he also got second place there. And then there's a GSL Code S Season 2 in 2014. He also got second place at the GSL Code S Season 1 in 2014. And then in 2013, he got second place at the WCS Season 3 Korea GSL Premier League. Basically what I'm saying is his list of tournaments where he got second place is incredibly long. And at some point it's like a mental block, right? So for him to at some point win the PM Kijkwijzer tournament, which was back in, I think this was 2019? 2019. At the end of all of those second places, he finally managed to bring back one of the biggest tournaments of the year. That's, yeah. At least he managed to get it done in one of the biggest stages. All right. Anyways, now that my roast of Su is over, I will tell you guys that Su is actually one of my personal favorite players. Mostly because he doesn't like playing late game, and I've always sucked at playing late game. We're not the same. He's good at playing late game, I'm bad at playing late game, but Su usually avoids it. I avoid it because I'm not good at it. Yeah, we're not quite the same person. Triple CC opener right here, by the way, from ByuN. Poor Reaper, going all the way to the surface of Oceanborn. Nicely defended though. Problem, of course, with this opener here for the Zerg is that you don't get your third base at the preferred timing. Maybe I am Su. I could be. Have you ever seen Su and me in the same room at the same time? I have. Many times, actually. But yeah, I could be Su, is what I'm saying, okay? It could be me. So here's the thing, Su is very much so the type of Zerg who prefers playing the swarmy style. He doesn't really play a lot of spellcasters unless he absolutely has to. ByuN, over the last half year or so, has been well, maybe not the last half year. No, the last year or so, ByuN has been playing quite turtily. ByuN has been a big fan of sitting back and defending. He can play that active style, but the playstyle that Maru popularized quite a while ago and that then slowly took root in every Terran player's mind, right? That style that everybody started giving a try. ByuN has gotten very good at that. So, if you know your opponent doesn't like playing late game, and you are very good at playing late game yourself, I would imagine ByuN is going to be aiming for this type of series to go as long as possible. It's going to be a triple CC here with a 1-1-1. Stimpak on the back of this. Kind of fun, actually, after a double Rex opener like the one that we just saw here from our Terran player. Very late Banshee. Normally the Banshee would show up on the other side of the map at about 5 minutes. Now this one is flying. It's gonna arrive at about 5:30. Interesting setup here for Su. So this was a 4-minute Roach Warren into +1 armor, and then into a second Evo chamber a while later. Most of the time the top level Zergs like to sync up their upgrades, but apparently that's not what we're doing. Overseer Scout in the meantime goes around the main base. Interestingly enough, it hasn't seen the Cloaked Banshee. Starport completely invisible. So even though this delayed Banshee does show up, well, at a timing that is delayed, because, you know, it's a delayed Banshee. And even though we did have an Overseer Scout, ByuN is still going to be able to get some damage in. It is double Banshee. Second one is going to be flying straight through the center of the map. Okay. It's been a bit right away since Su has come back from his mandatory military service. ByuN already completed his quite a few years ago. It seems to me that Su has taken quite a while now to get back to his previous level, and I'm not really sure if he's quite there yet. Likewise, it took ByuN quite a bit too. When he first came back home and he was back into playing StarCraft, it took him a bit before he really got back to his previous level. I don't get to cast nearly as many Su games as I would like to, but I haven't really seen him play as much StarCraft as I would have expected, actually. He seems to play in the biggest tournaments, and he does all right, but I don't think he's really considered to be somebody who could potentially win the entire thing, whereas ByuN is always the type of guy who can easily make it into the top 4, and nobody would be surprised. I heard actually that Rogue, who very recently came back, is currently doing really well. May have to check out some of his games again in the near future as well. Haven't seen as many of his replays either in any of the replay packs I've received, but anyways, Marine drop here. Trying to come into the 4th base, but I believe the Roach army should be good enough. Nice pickup right there on the siege tank, dodging the corrosive bile. And at the same time as a Baneling nest is building, Su is already going into a hive. So very quick hive here. Curious to see what he does with it, because like I said, he doesn't usually like playing, well, spellcasters. Could just be for a Ultra Cavern, which would also explain the quick +1 carapace priority. Could be for Vipers. I think a lot of Zerg players would like Vipers in this sort of instance, but I'm a little... Nah, I don't think it's gonna happen. 4th Command Center coming up right now for ByuN. Not building it at the front. Making that choice, I think, specifically against Su, because he knows there's likely going to be mid-game aggression. Second factory usually also is building at the front, but that one's going to be tucked away into the main base. +2, of course, nice and quickly. Hive is going to finish up here in just a moment. We'll have to see what the Zerg player decides to do. A bit of dancing. Nice bit of damage done, though. Medevacs are gonna boost it over towards the natural expansion, and ByuN, doing ByuN things, gets a bit of value. We are getting 2 Vipers. Huh. 2 Vipers and 1 Swarm Host. Oh, gets the Evo chamber. That's huge. Getting the +2 melee denied actually is massive. Really nice council right there for ByuN. ByuN very much so the type of Terran, of course, who has Medevacs and he's got Marines, so he's like, yo, what about I send them across the map? A Reaper from the early game, by the way, just died. Okay. So there's the +2/+2. Finishing up in just a moment, and usually that will be a big indication for the Terran to go across the map. Usually Terrans like to attack and line up their pushes with the +2/+2 research. So after the Vipers have come out, we are now going to go into the Ultra Cavern. Even though maybe historically Su is not a huge fan of spellcasters, he is going to mix them in over here. Blinding Cloud, of course, very good against those 2/2 attacks. But it looks like even though ByuN is expected to go for an attack, and even though I think that's the reason why we do see those Vipers, I don't think in this game he really needed them. Oh, did the swarm host already die? Oh, he cancelled the swarm host. Unless I'm blind. Wow. Swarm host got cancelled like it's Twitter in 2019. There's some players, by the way, that have purposefully unhotkeyed the swarm host button. Oh my god. Oh my god, where are we going? ByuN just made a beeline straight onto the creep. What in the world is this, ByuN? What is this? I'm gonna back up. Hold up right now. This army, look at this. I was busy following around those two medevacs on the left side of the map. ByuN decides to just stim for the win. Look at this. This is one of the strangest attacks you can see. Here we go. No scanning. No getting rid of the creep. He's just going. What in the world? Has to stim again because it obviously runs out. Well, that was actually quite successful. Problem is, we still have, of course, those Vipers. Maybe ByuN just learned of Leroy Jackson back in like 2006 or so. Yeah. Okay, guys, that's it. I'm going in. Leroy! Maybe that should be one of his new nicknames. ByuNbelievable. ByuNmazing. ByuNkins. Leroy. ByuNroy. Jenkins? I don't know. Anyways, ultimately, I think Sue will be pretty happy that a bunch of Marines just got donated. Because this is giving him time to go into the Ultra Tech. And obviously Ultralisks are what he was aiming for. This looks to me like almost like an Ultralisk timing, which is a bit of a weird thing. And I don't think it'll work out all too well, because the Ghost production has begun. We're still a little whiles away from those Ultras being fully armored up. Sue thinking about taking the base over here already. Okay. Yeah, the way that ByuN is playing does not really surprise me all too much, other than that crazy Marine push just now. It seems like Sue, though, is more than happy to just play the macro game here, which is a little surprising to me. It's just that, other than like the absolute tippity top of the Zergs, the very best Zerg players in the world, most of the Terrans seem to win against Zerg players in the late game. Personal cloaking coming up for the Ghosts. And ByuN indeed is starting... He's starting up the Iron Bank. Yeah. We're going into the command centers. We already have 5 orbitals right now. We're gonna have a lot more. The general goal here for the Terran is to make about a dozen. So about a dozen orbital commands. At that point, you can effectively turn off the fog of war. And you can just... And then you can just see the entire map. Yeah. Don't take that as a soundbite. Here's another one coming up. No, we don't need that as a separate soundbite. It's okay. We're even gonna go for some missile turrets. Yeah, so ByuN is basically saying, we are not gonna do anything until I want to. Alright, so, what does that mean? Usually, Zerg players will trade cost inefficiently in the late game. However, if they can mine one of the bases that would be considered to be the Terrans, life usually is quite okay. So, I'm assuming that Sue taking these expansions, this one right over here and then the mirrored location on the other side of the map, those are big indications that he is ready to play the macro game. I would love to see him transfer drones here though. I think like transferring drones from this base, maybe even this expansion, towards those outer expansions is critical. But anyways, we have a big push over here. This shouldn't really work that well. Might be able to kill a planetary, but that doesn't really matter. Oh, SCVs? Okay. That was costly, but 19 SCVs is actually better than I thought he was gonna get. Then again, though, I think we're at a state right now where ByuN is not really too concerned. He's got about 17 command centers. Okay, more like 12 command centers, so he can rebuild them pretty quickly. Yeah, just go over there, buddy. Now, this is buying time, right? So, these bases are usually on this map critical. I would love to see a drone transfer to these bases. One thing Serral actually does at this stage in the game is build a Nidus worm. So he builds a Nidus like right over here. And then he like Nidus is over there and he Nidus is over there. And he very quickly transfers drones around the map. So if one of the bases goes down, he goes for the other outer base. And the idea is that once those minerals are gone, the Terran can never get them again. ByuN actually going for a transition right now towards what seems to be Ghost Mech. Not a very common unit composition in 2024. Most Terrans now favor that Ghost Liberator Bio army in the late game. Ever since the Baneling nerf, that has been the go-to, but we may just see more siege tanks here. Maybe some Hellbats, some Thors, whatever else he likes. Okay. Big push once again at the bottom of the map. Yeah, that is going to kill another command center. Planetary Fortress over here in the choke point. I always love those. Yeah, the thing is, harassing the Terran's economy at this stage in the game is just not really the main goal. Like, Terran doesn't care. ByuN has got so many command centers and orbitals to just replace his economy pretty much immediately. He doesn't really mind it all too much. So him sniping those two bases over here is really sweet. Reason though that Su is doing this is because he's got a lot of money. Yeah. Su is just happily spending his cash, trying to get rid of some of those roaches as well. The roaches don't really help him out all too much. He's trying to effectively soft contain the Terran on the bases that he's got right now. +1 air coming up. Second armory, of course, as well. We have the building armor research. I'm assuming we already, have high-sec auto-tracking. Fight in the middle of the map. Terran forced to pick up. Get him out of there. Oh my god. ByuN is every ladder hero's worst nightmare with this playstyle. I don't think I know a single Zerg player that likes playing against turtle Terrans. This looks like one of those positions where you're almost like desperate to break it, but you just can't. Really, Su's best bet is to try and just outmine the opponent. Try and deny those outer bases, because attacking into choke points, like, you can't attack here. There's no attacking into this. No way. His best bet is to take bases that the Terran will try and mine themselves. If you can contain them for long enough, at some point, Terran is gonna have to go onto the creep. Now, once again, Su is gonna make the call to push in here. Okay. Impressive of him to still find opportunities, but obviously none of these traits are particularly efficient. We're already talking about 6,000 minerals more lost and, well, quite a bit less gas, but still very efficient, of course, here. Bunch of drones are gonna go down. And now Su is gonna be forced to play that spellcaster late game that he usually seems to avoid. Ooh, okay. Does get 2 medevacs. Yep, so here's the transition towards mechanical units. So any lost Marines, Marauders, medevacs, they're being replaced right now. Fusion core coming up, more command centers coming up. One trap that we do sometimes see Terrans fall into is that they make too many command centers. Because they think that the map is never gonna run out. We have seen that quite a bit actually, where Terrans just have too many. And it turns out having 17 command centers is nice. But if you can't mine minerals, it's not particularly useful. Yeah, more coming up. He's just building. This is essentially SimCity now. Yeah. ByuN was a little disappointed by the new City Skylines game, as were we all. So he decided to go back to playing SimCity and StarCraft 2 instead. I really like though what ByuN is doing, using a relatively small hit squad of units to try and go after those outer bases. He's reading this game like a book. So like currently his income is not looking that good. Compared to the Zerg anyways. Like his bank is not nearly as significant. But he's not thinking about the current situation. He knows that Zerg is going to be economically ahead. Okay, losing one too many ghosts for my liking though. The cherry on top for me would be nukes. I think nukes would be a really nice addition. But apparently that's not what we're gonna do. Not yet anyways. Second Spire coming up. Yeah, Sue is still shopping. He's got a lot of cash. Problem is that he now has the resources to remax one time. His army value is bigger than his current bank. Obviously, the same can be said here for Terran. ByuN's gonna play this carefully. He's getting so much value, though. Yeah, this is textbook style right here from ByuN. Usually, these roads do eventually lead towards a Terran win. Not sure if it's gonna be the case here this time around. But quite frequently, so we see Terrans focusing on just one base, right? One base at a time, this expansion at the bottom, then this expansion is going to be next. As long as Zerg does not mine them out fully, I think it's okay here for our Terran. Oh, good blinding clouds, nicely done. A lot of corruptors in the air, trying to see if they can potentially go after any liberators, but not really that many of them available. Ultras once again coming in. Okay. Nicely done here by Sue. Constantly finding opportunities for fighting. Planetary Fortress, low in hit points. We'll have to see a repair. Yep. And as another command center falls, one more will be coming up. Caduceus Reactor. That's... Oh, are you guys stuck? Yeah, they're stuck. Caduceus Reactor is the upgrade, of course, for the Medevacs. They heal twice as much. Which is really quite nice. Well, they regen twice as quickly. So you don't need as many Medevacs. Currently, we have none. But those two Medevacs are going to be boosted here. Yeah, these guys, oof. They're going to be healing hard. Some new skills. Some new devices for the medics, I guess, that live inside of those medevacs. Funny thing is, though, that the only biological unit that remains right now is no longer the Marine or the Marauder. It's all ghosts. And Hellbats. Hellbats as well. Here comes ByuN. Or Sue, rather. Oh, big fungal. Nice fungal. Kills more ghosts. Honestly, the execution here from ByuN is not quite as clean as I would like to be. Okay. You know what? He actually gets pushed away over here. I think he's lost one too many ghosts. No, one too many, I mean like 15 too many. Yeah. He's lost 27 at this point. I feel like he could have avoided quite a few of those losses. And now ByuN's bank suddenly is down all the way to nothing. Sue still has a lot of resources in the bank. It's not very gas heavy, so he really needs to get those Vespian extractors going here as quickly as he can. That's exactly what he's doing. Here comes some of the mules, though. He's just checking whether or not there's another wave of units coming up. If you would see any Brute Lords right now, for example, that could be a massive issue. Luckily for him, double Spire, just for regular upgrades. No greater Spire or anything like that. Okay. Yeah, this is the mining base right now. This is basically the only mining that ByuN currently has. There's still some mineral fields over here, but they're looking surprisingly skinny. Absolute roller coaster, by the way, and income advantages whenever the mules are mining. Right now we just had another influx of mules, so I think it'll probably, yep, dip in favor of the Terran once again. That fungal, by the way, was pivotal, right? So he had an infestor burrowed, I think, and it came out of nowhere. I didn't even see it. But suddenly the entire Terran army got fungal. Okay. The ghost transition, by the way, no longer ongoing. The mech transition also put to a halt. Oh my god, those siege tanks are having a grand old time. Sorry to the Marines. You guys did not get relief from your duty, but my god. Those guys, like shooting fish in a barrel. 25 kills, 11 kills, 18 kills, 19 kills. So many clumped up Zerglings. I think the siege tanks may have actually killed a few of them as well. Push over on the left side of the map again. ByuN, previously broke, still not a wealthy man, but he knows that Terran is gonna have to take one of those expansions at least. This base, okay, mined for quite a while now. The entire Zerg army is being cycled towards the left side of the map. Very efficient shooting right there, though, from ByuN. We have a group of Hellbats, Blue Flame Hellbats, that is. They're going to be able to make quick work of that, well, mineral line, but also the building itself, since it's already low in hit points. And really no way for Su to get out of here. Yeah, you can go down south. That's not an escape, though. Sorry, buddy. Yeah, you guys are dead. Yeah, sorry. Just got worse for you. Okay. So we need to max out. So may be a little hesitant to max out here and choose what units he wants to make, because they'll probably be some of the last units he can produce. But currently he's sitting at 155 supply, which is not a whole lot. And we're gonna have more siege tank shots over here. ByuN will likely be making a play for this base over on the left side. Nice abduction. Love to see it. Good abductions here. Those are the value tanks from earlier. There you go. Harpooned one at a time up until the high ground. Does Su have a lurker den? No. No lurker den. No. Yeah, I think Su at this point is trying to decide what sort of unit composition he wants to make. Like, what do you make? I think more of the same is really his option. Okay, a couple of Hellions get sacrificed. Marauders are coming up right now, together with some siege tanks again. So we're going back all the way up to Marauder production. But this is what I was trying to say. ByuN now making a move for this expansion. And these moves are pivotal. Su still has the bigger bank. After nearly half an hour of fighting, he has still got the bigger bank. But ByuN is, I think, mostly stable. Zerg is very focused on trying to not die on the right side of the map, because this is really the only mining that Zerg still has. But I think ByuN will be happy taking one of those two bases. Even though this one has been mined for maybe like 30 or so percent. I think it's probably about 30% of this base has been mined by the Zerg. This one has been denied repeatedly. The cost efficiency at this point is insane. 12,000-ish resources more lost on the side of the Zerg. That makes up for their, those minerals that the Zerg managed to steal from that expansion. At least from ByuN's point of view, it was theft. Yeah, this was his base all along. Can't believe those dirty Zerg units managed to get their dirty little lobster claws on it. I think they're lobsters anyways, I don't know what these drones are. What are drones? Nobody knows. Okay. Fight on the right side continues once again. These guys heard something about shooting fish in a barrel. They like the idea quite a bit. This extractor has been killed about 17 times, by the way. Yeah, cost efficiency here is just brilliant. Very, very well done here by ByuN. And even though it looked a little dangerous for him, I think we're getting to the point where he is sealing the deal. This has been a textbook approach as to how you should be focusing on playing a turtley style of Terran. It is very difficult to pull off. So many moments in which it can go horribly wrong, because your remaxing is obviously never as quick as the Zergs, and the Zerg can remax like 4 times. So sometimes you may be put in a scenario where you lose one battle and then suddenly there's just a mass amount of Zerg that you can never hold. I think there would have been an opportunity here for, yeah, maybe. I think Su maybe could have been transitioning towards, for example, Brute Lords. But the thing is, he's seen a lot of Ghosts, obviously, and he's also seen Thors. And those 2 units are really, really good against Brute Lords. But yeah, we do very frequently see a transition towards like Brutes at some point, and then back down to Ultras, and maybe going to Lurkers and all the rest of it. Constant tech transitions to keep the Terran player guessing. In this game, it's been mostly just Ultraling Bane, I guess, with Spellcasters and a bunch of Corruptors for support. This Hellbent, not terrified of anything. And now even this base is quite susceptible for the Terran, actually. Yeah, look at that. ByuN is gonna just take the base. He only needs the gas. If he can get a planetary going over here. Now we have a Brute Lord transition. Okay, Su has just smashed his piggy bank. That was the majority of the money that he's got. He still has some though. 14 Brute Lords. This will be the first time that ByuN sees them. But also, well, the moment that they just appeared on the map. ByuN has got 18 ghosts though. We're gonna have to see some pew-pews. He's flying an orbital over there. He's flying an orbital towards what is normally like the 5th base of the Zerg. Okay, does get a few snipes. Planetary Fortress here being quite handy. Keep in mind that Brute Lords are relatively slow. Su has currently got them focused on the right side of the map. That does leave this central path quite open, although I say that. The Ultraling Bane Ball is still around as well. And look at the banks right now. 32 minutes into the game is when ByuN grabs the resource advantage. This was the plan all along. Actually such an insane game plan, but this is exactly the way that ByuN had this game number 1 envisioned. He's trying to just slowly suffocate the Zerg. And Su has been throwing wave after wave after wave of unit at the opponent. At some point it looked like he was going to be able to slip through the cracks. It's not over yet, but it's going to require a pretty significant mistake right now from the Terran player to win for the Zerg. Still some mining here though for the Zerg player. Yeah. Problem is, now this expansion. Oh my god. I thought ByuN was gonna make a play for this base over on the right side of the map, but he's like, nope. Let me go for the base right here, south of your natural. That's actually such a crazy play. I think there's actually still an opportunity for Su to potentially win this, but his army in a straight up fight, it just does not win. Assuming ByuN does not butcher his micro. And ByuN is not known for butchering his micro. No. They don't call him Leroy Byonkins for real, you know, what was his nickname? Ah yeah, Micro Jackson. Right, Micro Jordan. They don't call him Micro Jordan for nothing. ByuN, by the way, really slowing this down now. Oh, no detection. No detection. Pew, 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 pew. ByuN instantly remaxes. Su is broke. Surprised he doesn't make some Thors, to be honest, but apparently he's feeling like this is not really a big issue. He still has a couple. Blinding Cloud does go down. Trying to back up to the safety right over there off the service area, right behind the gas. Okay, he's forced to lift up and get on out of there. Su manages to achieve what he set out with that attack. But it cost him everything. Brilliant game one, by the way. Very, very good game. Yeah, I think this is over. I think this is pretty much over right now. At this point, ByuN has just got such a substantial advantage as far as the supply count goes. The Brute Lords are pretty low in hit points as well. There's nothing really... Yeah, there's one fungal, okay. There's nothing really here to support the Brute Lords, and that indeed means that we're gonna get one desperation attack from the Zerg player. GG is cold. It's ByuN who wins game number 1. Alrighty. Game number 2, we find ourselves on post Youth. I feel like I haven't seen this map as much as of late. Maybe just the series I've been casting. Still a very popular one. Yeah, brilliant game number 1 right there though from ByuN. There were a couple of... Ooh, nice snipe right there too. Yeah, there were a couple of mistakes. But I think overall that game went about as... Yeah, textbook as he could have aimed for. He probably is criticizing some of those mistakes that he made, but overall, very, very well done. Alrighty. Triple CC. Yeah. Straight triple CC, not a bad play. I'm assuming we're going to see a factory eventually, but we could even have a second barracks. Both are valid options. Tech lab coming up. Not yet. Are we not going to make a starport? Okay then. Hello, ByuN. We have the money. We have the money still. I guess he's just queuing up more Hellions. Okay. So there is certainly an opportunity in that case for the Zerg player to go for an attack. There are some roach timings, for example, that Terran is quite vulnerable to, especially when they decide to delay the starport. Stimpak is going to finish up at a relatively reasonable time, so that makes the game a little easier, but... there's the Roach Warren. I think that's a bit late though. Usually if we're gonna see like an aggressive Roach Warren, it'll already be down. Probably about like 330, 340 or so at latest. This one started at about 350. Yep, and there's barracks 2 and 3. Okay. So it looks like ByuN is going to be able to get away with this relatively greedy early game. And actually, you know what? Getting away with it may not even be the right way of calling it, as we just have the Hellions driving up the ramp. Okay, nice Evo block. 6 drones is acceptable. A lot of lost mining time as well, though. And I think the Hellions are going to fall without getting another kill. 8 drones in total. Bunch of lost mining time for 4 Hellions and a Reaper. I don't love it, but... don't think I can really hate on it either, right? So this is ByuN getting rid of those units. On this map, you don't really need to keep the Hellbats around as much, it seems. We're gonna fly it over there. Judging by the positioning, it kind of feels like we're gonna fly it over there. Oh, he forgot rallying it. Yep, we are gonna send it over in that direction. The Marines will probably be making a step out onto the map there in just a moment. Stimpak is done. That means that any sort of aggression from the Zerg is significantly easier to clean up. In the meantime, on the side of the Zerg player, we've got ourselves an Evo chamber coming up right now again, together with that lair. I'm assuming this will be a +1 carapace first, so Su actually on purpose, keeping those upgrades out of sync. Are you getting dizzy? Ooh. Okay, no. Barracks number 4 and 5. So just straight Marine play, basically here from ByuN. +1 missile. +1 melee. Both are viable options, actually. I think if you go missile, you're kind of committed to an attack. Considering he did lose some drones earlier, probably not ideal, but 5 overlords coming up. 6 overlords coming up. Are we not gonna go for the second upgrade, ByuN? Or Sue, rather. I think we're gonna... Aren't we gonna do a big roach attack? If we're gonna do a big roach attack, aren't we gonna... Okay. Anyways, the Zergling run by over here, extremely successful. Surprisingly so. We have Stimpack, but it was not used. ByuN probably had his eyes set right now on this, well, fight at the front. Lots of roaches, though, are just about to pop, and yeah, that's going to be a relatively easy cleanup. Very surprised we didn't see Stimpack on any of those Marines here. ByuN usually has really good multitasking, and he had like a good bit of time there. Decided not to go for it. I think actually Sue could just go for a big attack. I think he might just have an opportunity to just make a large army and go. He might not realize, though, that that is really the case. More Zerglings slipping around the side. Siege tank will finish the job. SCV falls. Minerals are going to be mined out here to allow a bit more room into the main base. Spore crawler set up, though. Gonna make it difficult for ByuN to continue flying around. There's indeed the +1 missile now, by the way. So Sue accidentally delaying that upgrade. Probably assumed he started it up. He may have selected the Evo chamber and he just thought he had the resources for it, but he didn't. So the upgrade never began. Another 6 overlords on the production tab. I don't think I mind it as much if you already have 70-something workers, but it feels quite bad if you're still planning on droning up before that point, but... Not the cleanest set of games here either for ByuN, who now also hits a supply block. Another command center, though, is going to start up, and thought for a second maybe we wanted to play like an 8-Rex all-in, but that will not be the case. 5 Rex into a 4th command center, and then probably barracks 6, 7, and 8. I'm gonna guess over here. Over here. Yeah, this is the spot. Final answer. Roach Ravager pushing across. And this is a scary army. Sue is finding himself with 50 supply up. Mostly because none of the fights really went particularly great for the Terran. Siege tank positioning is good for the mineral line, but not so much for the command center itself. Here's Brenda. Brenda thinking she might be able to go across as well. Okay, I think there might just honestly be too much Zerg. There's no Overseer for high ground vision. SCVs pulled away as well from their mineral lines. Yeah, those siege tanks on the high ground are awesome, but they're not helping out in these battles at all. I think ByuN may have just given away one too many units during those drops of his. Hey, the rest of the Queen crew has also shown up. Yeah. Suna's like, what the heck? Or Sue is like, what the heck? I guess I'll just hold down the roach button. The original plan was to test the waters and see what I can do, but that Terran army is looking very vulnerable. Now he's just gonna continue doing the same thing that he already did. Again, we're nearly 10 minutes into the game. Terran's gonna start running out of their bases. He's gonna have to make a move for a 4th base before too long. So Zerg doesn't need to be this aggressive. Yeah, this is a much better engagement so far for ByuN, considering the size of his army. Command center itself is gonna need some repairs. I don't think he's got enough army, though. That's the problem. Still no Overseer to provide high ground vision here. So those corrosive biles cannot go onto the high ground. But the corrosive biles are going on top of the bio army and the medevacs themselves. Now the Zerglings, oof, the biles connect right there as well with some fresh mules. ByuN a little overeager. ByuN a little overeager here in game number 2, and he's gonna have to pay the price. The command center positioning is something to talk about as well. Most Terrans like to take it over there, it seems, but... Yeah, Sue is ready to rinse and repeat. The fights will not be too cost efficient for him. That's actually not bad at all. He's lost some more gas, I guess. Mineral-wise, though, it's totally fine. ByuN did decide to invest into 3-3. If he finishes these upgrades, I think the game actually might become playable for him again, because Roach Ravager scales so poorly into the late game. But I'm wondering if this is just a numbers game right now. Sue, ready to move in once again. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna let this one go. Nope, there will be no transitioning here for Sue. He's adding on +1 melee. He's flooding in Zerglings as well if he's got a chance. But there's no hive or anything like that, not even an infestation pit. He's got the money for it, but he's feeling like he might just be able to win with pure Roach Ravager Zergling. Medivac's fully out of energy right now. A lot of supply caught up in those as well, and ByuN's supply count is already so low. Now it's really only the siege tanks that remain. Looks like the command center even gets boiled down. GG is called. Sue wins game number 2. Alrighty. Gonna go for a cheeky little double Rex to start off the final game of this best of 3 series. Command center behind that wall off, and ByuN is once again gonna start up the dance. This will be the moment as well where the Zerg player realizes, okay, it is indeed going to be a double Rex opener from the opponent, and that means that the third hatchery will be delayed for at least a little bit, usually until at least Zergling speed is done. So we'll probably spend his extra minerals on some extra queens here a little earlier. There's queen number... Oh, it's actually a pool first build. That's what's confusing me here. I think it must have been a pool first build. Yeah. Anyways, third queen coming up right now here for the Zerg. I fast forwarded through the first couple minutes of the game. Didn't even pay attention. I saw the double Rex going up inside of ByuN's natural, and I figured we were going to have this early game. Small deviation, though, there for Sue. Command center number 3 coming up. Did get the creep tumor in the meantime. Factory nice and quick this time around, and I'm assuming we're going to go into a starport. Starport with a reactor into double medevac production is the norm. ByuN sometimes does this, though, where he goes into, like, Banshee play, which I think is pretty fun. Yeah, he might just do that this time around. So this is actually kind of confusing for the Zerg player, because you see a double barracks opener at the front, and you're like, huh, okay. Double barracks always transitions towards bio, right? So it's a delayed factory, and therefore also a delayed starport. So the last thing you expect is cloaked Banshees. Even though it's technically very easy to counter for the Zerg, it can be very effective. Four-minute Roach Warren again for Sue. Not messing around with straight Ling Bane or double upgrades or anything like that. Is he gonna go Cloak? Would love to see Cloak. No, I don't think so. Banshee play is also good, of course, when it comes to playing defensively. Yeah, the problem with going Banshee Cloak here is that you show up like a minute later than you ordinarily would with a Banshee Cloak attack. So, best case scenario, you find your opponent with a lair, so they can just get mobile detection pretty easily, unlike like the earlier version of that build. But I've seen quite a few games where ByuN gets like a dozen worker kills because 2 of those Banshees show up completely unscouted. He can still sort of achieve the same thing, I guess, without cloaking. Wonder if he's gonna go second Banshee though. He could. We could also just see a single one. Yeah, it's just gonna be a single one into siege tank together with medevac production. Okay. In the meantime, Terran has taken up shop over here on the watchtower. Roaches can only run in single file. I guess, yeah, you can get 2 in. If you get 1 from that side, 1 from that side, but quite a difficult, well, call to make, of course. Lair's going to finish up. What are we gonna do, Sue? Are we just gonna play the same style again? There's no second Evo chamber this time around, so I'm wondering if this is gonna be a different follow-up. Previous games you already had a second Evo right about right now. Could certainly be something he adds into the mix. Just a moment. This is another map, by the way, much like Oceanborn, where ByuN can once again play it quite slow. Evidently, that worked very well for him in game number 1. There's the second Evo now coming up. So in the previous match, or in the previous games rather, in game number 1, he went for like a, I think it was like a 7.5 minute hive. Wouldn't be surprised if we're gonna see an infestation pit nice and early once again. +1/+1 upgrades here, gonna finish up in just a moment. Armory coming up. Should be alright. Okay. Cancelled the Overseer. Didn't feel like he needed it. Matter of fact, drop goes into the main base, it looks like. Even though the players are playing different races. Very different build orders, of course. The upgrades are still pretty much all in sync. I always like it whenever we have, like, you know, 6 upgrades stacked on top of each other on the right side of the screen. There's the infestation pit, together with a baneling nest. Okay. Yeah, this is not really an opener for Sue where you can be super aggressive. Or super aggressive. This will be a relatively passive style again. And I'm wondering if he's playing into the hands of ByuN just a little too much with something like this. Because clearly ByuN was very comfortable playing that turtle style. It kind of feels like we have a deja vu from game number 1. Different map, slightly different strategies, but overall, basically the same styles. It's baneling speed, by the way, whilst researching +1 missile, which is a bit odd. We don't have a Hydra den, we don't have a Lurker den, of course, then either. At least I don't think so. No. So why the +1 missile? I'm a little confused by that. I guess the second upgrade was already delayed. So maybe melee upgrades, if delayed, not really worth it. In the meantime, on the side of the Terran, it's 5 barracks. Yep, 4th command center, and then barracks 6, 7, and 8. We'll see tech labs on those and a ghost academy here in just a moment. Because I can predict the future. Unless I can't. No, I can't. How did I know? Magic. That's how I know. Yeah, remember that one class at Hogwarts? Where you had that weird lady in the top of the tower that basically never came down for dinner? That's me. That's me. Yeah, I see the Grim everywhere. Once again, 2 Vipers coming up. And there's the Adrenal Glands. No Ultra Cavern yet, but I'm fully expecting to see that one on the production tab in a moment. Now it's, by the way, +1 melee. So we went +1 missile into +1 melee. I'm not sure if I like Sue's Evo Chamber movements and decision making. I think we're just kind of seeing him do whatever he feels like, which is fair enough. But it just feels to me that +1 missile doesn't scale nearly as well into the late game as melee upgrades. Skill. I was listening to some of my own casts, and I noticed that sometimes when I try to say the word skill, it sounds like I say skill. Skill versus skill. I feel like I need to make the A longer on skill. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that the +1 melee upgrades in general scale better into the late game than the +1 melee, or than a +1 missile would. Maybe I need to spend some time in Minnesota. Maybe. Maybe I need to pronounce the C. Is there much of a difference between scale and skill? Yeah, yeah. English. Words may look the same. Words may literally be the same, but be pronounced entirely differently. Read versus read. Hello, what? Why is the past tense of hurting? Like, I hurt? I heard yesterday, I heard today, I heard right now. How? Those verbs don't make any sense. English is actually kind of a crazy language. I don't know if it's as obvious how some of the grammatical rules make absolutely no sense if you are a native English speaker. Don't get me wrong though, Dutch has many inconsistencies as well, but I feel like English has more. Maybe because more people speak it, huh? Look at that, 5 command centers on the production tab. I remember in school I had to learn all of those irregular verbs. And there are so many of them. Nowadays they come to me naturally. But back when I was in school, it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like one great example that you will always see Dutch people getting wrong is I learned it from him. So learning and teaching in Dutch is usually used as the same verb. So technically we have a verb as well for teaching, but we don't really use it very much. And you can use the word learning in the same way, or the verb learning in Dutch in the exact same way as you would teaching. So things get very confusing. Nice little Baneling connection here. Yeah, we have a repeat of what we had in game number 1. I'm starting to be a little bit concerned here, honestly. We have so many factories coming up, so many command centers finishing, so many orbital commands done. It seems to me that we are headed into the exact same direction as what we had previously. This time around though, Sue is expanding a little bit more aggressively, it seems. We could be here for another 30 minutes. Another one that always trips up Dutch people is plural for certain words. Like, why do we have 1 goat and 2 goats? Why do we have 1 sheep and 2 sheep? Why is the plural for sheep sheep? How? That makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. It's the same for groups of animals in English. Like, why is it a murder of crows? Why is it not a school of crows? Why is it not? Why are there so many different words? A lot of those things do make sense when you speak a lot of English, I guess, at some point, but still don't quite understand what a murder is supposed to be. So by the way, adjusting. Look, this I love. So this is what I was trying to indicate in game number 1. Try to take some of those minerals on the outer bases first. You don't need to be mining your third. This one is a given. This is something you can always mine. Terran's not going to steal that, or at least he shouldn't. Taking those bases that are on the outskirts, the ones that Terran will likely try to take from you later on, mining those first is so important because once those minerals are gone, they're gone. The two have become neighbors though in the top left-hand corner. And if it's up to ByuN, he doesn't like neighbors. No. He's like one of those billionaires, you know? Like whenever a house in the neighborhood comes for sale, he just offers whatever the buyer wants. He's like slowly buying up the entire neighborhood. Yeah, and for that to be, you know, for somebody from Seoul, for that to be your life goal, I mean... Gosh, I don't know much about Seoul, but I've heard it's exceptionally expensive. ByuN wants to own the entire city. He wants to own Alcyone as well, and that's where we're starting. Okay, this choke point over here. I was gonna say, no way, Sue. Fusion core gonna finish up. We'll see some Liberator production here in a moment, and it looks like, well, we do have some mech production. We don't have that much of it yet. No, it's pretty much only bio for the time being. Yeah, so this is why you need to have the Nidus Worm. Yeah, so Sarah always takes the Nidus Worm here. I think the Nidus Worm is a no-brainer. Su's money, though, once again, absolutely ridiculous. I would love for him to get a Greater Spire going. I think a Greater Spire, Brute Lords into Ultras again, and trying to play around with that a little bit is so critical. I also, if I'm being critical, I think there's too much money still caught up, too much supply caught up in those Roaches. Those Roaches are just not doing much. Like, they're good at tanking and they don't really die, so they stick around for a long time, but like, they're also soaking up like half of the total amount of Zerg army supply here. We need to get rid of those soon. Base over here will be picked up again. ByuN is gonna settle the neighborhood dispute over here by building a house on top of his opponent's foundation. Don't recommend doing that in real life. Well, Su actually pushes through here, gets rid of a lot of those units. Ultras should probably get sniped instead of just auto-attacked by the ghosts, but fair enough. That was extremely expensive, though, for the Terran player. Like, Terran just lost a tremendous amount of supply. Obviously, Zerg also lost a lot. Even more so. But if you look at the bank here, Su is still a rich man. He's quickly rebuilding whatever he can. And I guess in a strange way, he's almost like trying to soft contain the opponent. Even though there's like 12 command centers at this point in time. If ByuN is not allowed to take another expansion, life should work out quite well here for the Zerg in the long run. Although we may be here for another 10 minutes or so if that ends up working out. Okay, these are fully upgraded Zerglings at this point. They certainly pack a punch. Blue Flame, Hellbats, not necessarily a great counter. Planetary Fortresses, though, difficult to break for Zerglings like that. Those Siege Tanks and those Hellbats, very nicely done. Su, once again, drops down tremendously in supply, but he did take down a bunch of Ghosts, a bunch of, well, Siege Tanks and whatever else he could grab. Once upon a time, the Hellbats, they one-shot Zerglings in the late game with +3. These days, no longer the case. Zerglings actually require a second shot against fully upgraded Hellbats. Or, Hellbats rather, need a second attack against fully upgraded Zerglings. It was a relatively small change in the patch notes, and nobody really talked about it all too much at the time, but it was actually a very substantial change. Okay, ByuN up with his back against the wall, though. In a very strange way, even though he's maxed out and he's got one hell of an army and a lot of command centers, I don't like this nearly as much as I did on Oceanborn. It's fine still, but it's starting to look a little more desperate now. Liberator transition coming up. I wonder if we should go Liberators before all of those factories. The factories don't really seem to be that effective. And here comes Su again, trying to deny another one of those bases. So right now the mining is mostly happening over here as well as over here. +2/+2. Thor's coming up. We're just gonna get whatever we can. +2/+2 Thors, apparently. Ooh. Gonna get another one. More units going down. ByuN getting a little careless. Wonder if he's feeling a little too confident with how this is all going, because I don't think he's reading the game quite as clearly as he did in the first few games of this series. Here come the Banelings. Oh! That's another base down. And that's exactly what ByuN was trying to avoid. Loses the army, loses more workers, losing more command centers, and Su still has so much money in the bank that he can remax with whatever he likes. How many command centers do we still have? 11 orbitals. Yeah, we have a lot of command centers still. ByuN actually needs to stop making CCs. It's tempting to just keep on adding on more, but I think you should really remax first. Orbital Command flies on over in that direction. I'm actually happy to see how Su is playing the late game. I feel like overall, whenever I think of Su, I think of a mid-game player. Somebody who likes playing the mid-game. He's good in the early game, he's obviously decent as well in the late game. I haven't really historically seen him be very successful at this phase in the match. Game number 1, he just invited that playstyle. Now in game number 3, he does it again. And this time around it's going, yeah, a hell of a lot better than it did in the first one. I mean, it's not over yet. Here comes ByuN again. But he's happily playing all the spellcasters, happily playing the entire map. That's not usually what he liked to do. Yeah, this is not something you can push into though. He's got 1 Viper still, 6 Infestors. And they get scanned. I don't think he can really afford losing them. I say that, he still has a lot of gas in the bank, but... Okay. So ByuN now is focusing all his efforts on taking this base. Because he needs it. Oh my god, okay, that's a lot of mules. Huge peak as far as the income advantage goes. The small little bio army that's still remaining is gonna jump down to the low ground, kill some drones, get out. I'm assuming we're gonna replace them with mechanical units. Some ghosts. SCV still going to town on that one rich Vespian geyser. Okay. Good EMPs, but still a few of the infestors certainly have energy for a fungal growth. Oh my god, absolute Zerg bloodbath. Ay, 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 ay. Yeah, another nosedive as far as the army supply goes. Look at this, man. It's like my crypto. Jeez Louise. Anyways, we'll see where it's at in 20 years. I don't have a lot. No, I don't have a lot of crypto, but... Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, and Su has actually just lost a bunch of bases. ByuN, even though he was running into issues, is securing another base over on the left, and he secured the golden base as well. Planetary Fortress in the choke point, by the way. I love that. A couple siege tanks behind. Masterfully done right here by ByuN here, who gets another base up and going. Decides to go for the rich Vespian geyser first. That hero SCV ended up killing the Vespian geyser. And he decided to build a refinery there. Golden minerals. Oh, okay. Don't get too eager though, ByuN. We don't need to be here. I feel like we're being a little over-eager. I feel like I've said that like 7 times already. Zerg is gonna catch this entire Terran player, well, away from all of that static defense and planetary fortresses and everything else they've been building. I think this is about the best fight Su can hope for against this Terran army, and indeed, he manages to clean basically all of it up. There was zero reason for ByuN to be here. Ultras in the meantime going around the back as well. I feel like ByuN has been reading this game like he's got a tremendous advantage the entire series long, but I don't think that's really quite the case. Nice fungals there. 2 more ghosts end up falling. More SCVs dying over at the base at the 3 o'clock that is. Command Center ends up dying too. Command Center over on the left side of the map is nowhere to be seen anymore. I think that basically is it. There's no more gas income here for the Terran. He is only capable of making Marines. And while Marines are good, I don't think they're going to be great against a Ling Ultra Infestor type of army. Sick. I kind of feel like ByuN kind of... It feels to me like he kind of handed this on a silver platter. There was no reason for him to be camping out here. Like, what is he even trying to achieve? Obviously, he was trying to kill this base, right? But that doesn't really matter all too much for the Zerg. If ByuN would have waited with that move for like another minute or two, got that rich Vespian geyser going for a little bit longer, got the gas going over here, I think he would have had a bank to quickly remax. But instead, right now, he's finding himself with only minerals. He's going to be able to make Hellbats and Marines. Whoop-de-doo. Oh, nice fungals. Well done right here by Su. ByuN trying to pull a rabbit out of a hat right now. SCV train transferred towards that base on the right, but there it is. I did not expect it. In a very long series, Su ends up winning the second macro game, and just like that, he obtains the victory over one of the world's greatest Terrans.